Welcome back.
Welcome back.
This is Our House Podcast.
I'm Katie Hill.
I'm Ben Woolsdorf. We're crushing.
We're here. Episode 3. That was so... We're getting the hang of this.
That felt very
smooth. That felt
smooth.
very smooth. I'm really proud of that. Yeah, that was great.
We're still between two ferns in the for the video shot. So shout out to Zach Galifianakis. This is going to be... I think I'm going to mention that maybe one more week. I don't know.
I was going to say, I think this is our new
right.
intro. It's part of the experience.
You're going to do a
We
photo
need to
up?
acknowledge the fact.
We felt like this was
new photo.
Yeah, new photo, which is cool. We were at...
Not a new photo. Well, it's not technically a new picture.
But
however, it is a new backdrop,
yep,
I should say.
Backdrop.
This was at a festival.
It was kind of like a farm.
Fun to give backstory. It basically was a farm. I think it's fun to give backstory on the pictures.
Yeah.
Like where,
so
Shelly,
Shelly,
background.
My wife is like really into festivals and stuff, and we went.
I am too. That's
you
why
are too.
I
That's right.
invited.
I actually am as well. I shouldn't say that I'm not, but this was the Gravenstein Apple Festival.
I still have my my glass they give you for the apple cider.
Yep.
It was fun.
It's a good time. So that's where we were. Good moment.
It was really fun.
There you go.
Yeah, so new photo.
It's good.
It's just fun to switch it up.
Yep. That's it. Okay, it's February.
Yes, it is.
Episode 3.
You know what time that means, or what that means. I was trying to say, you know what that means and what time is it, but at the same time, it didn't really work out. But you get it.
It is February, the month where everybody talks about relationships.
Woo.
So we're just gonna, drink the
Classic
Kool-Aid and follow suit.
Kool-Aid?
Drink the Kool-Aid. You never heard that term?
I've never heard that.
This is a fantastic moment to talk about.
I mean, I know what Kool-Aid is. I've never heard the phrase, drink the Kool-Aid.
I think it actually comes from, I know it comes from, this is bad. It's it's a phrase that basically says like you are just doing what everyone else is doing. You drink the Kool-Aid. So as both of us are we're big fans. You're a Taylor Swift fan through and through, which I'm becoming one. You would say that Ben Woolsdorf is beginning to drink the Kool-Aid. I'm starting to become a Taylor Swift fan.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
You've been drinking the Kool-Aid for a long time.
Sure.
So you're in. You know?
But
I got the water bottle now, so I'm in.
Yes, that's
In the same way, we're
sense.
gonna drink the February
Kool-Aid.
relationship talk Kool-Aid that everyone talks about.
I got it. Wow.
I
see it.
We did get some questions though about.
We did. We're not
from
just
students. Yeah, you want to read those questions? What we got from?
Yeah. So these are kind of. I'll read them together.
Yeah.
And then
that's good.
We kind of have a flow of a response to go with both of these. But these are some of the questions that we got that we thought would fit in this month and this theme. So first one is how. Oh, I was going to read that. How to navigate relationships with people who either simply aren't Christian or who don't specifically encourage or support your faith. So that's kind of more of a friend question. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but just any relationships that was more, open. And then we also have, how do I navigate romantic relationships as a teenager? So we decided we want to take both of those questions and kind of morph.
Talk about relationships in general.
Yeah, exactly.
And how to be a good friend and also to be in a healthy romantic relationship as well. Yes.
I think to start, if we want to talk about friends
to
start,
let's do
friendships to start. And that first question, talking about navigating friends who, what does it say, simply aren't Christian or who don't specifically encourage or support your faith.
Oh my goodness. I have some good things to say on this, but I want to hear your thoughts first because you are we both have friendships that are not Christians.
We both have friends, guys.
We have friends. People like us.
Oh yes, friends. Yes, right.
But we kind of talked about this in first episode a little bit.
I think so. Yeah.
And I guess just share about how you've navigated that, Katie. How have you navigated friendships that aren't Christians?
Yeah, I think it's a hard thing. I think for sure, and it's something that's not always going to be there. What should I say? But I think it's something that is going to always be kind of hard as you go about it. But I have lots of friends that aren't Christians. I have lots of friends that are Christians, and I think I don't love either of them any differently to start with. They're all my friends in the same level in that
good
place.
Basic
so
level.
Blanket that right now. Love
good
them
friends,
all the same.
Good friends are good friends.
Yeah, there's just differences in how those friendships are.
Totally.
They're not necessarily bad or good things. And so I think specifically talking about, friends who aren't Christian and what that looks like, especially because it can vary with I think this question too, asking like sometimes they're just like they're not Christian, they don't have any background with the church or anything like that, so they really don't understand like the whole church thing or like what you're doing or whatever that looks like. And then there's also those friends that kind of there's the more judgmental aspect of it, and it's like, oh, like whatever, and you go to church. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Like what
We kind of talked about that a little bit on the first episode,
right?
Like how to navigate those feelings, and
And so I think for me, I think most of my friends that aren't Christian start in that judgmental place, and when I first meet them, and I think I've been able to kind of coax all of them into I don't know how to explain that. I'm not like I'm like converting them, but like I've just made them. It's a less judgmental thing because now they're kind of aware of like like you're still like normal. Like they always say like or like like I'm like we can still be friends because it's just a different dynamic of like they're able to like accept me now that they kind of understand. It's not like because I think it just all comes back to like the Christian stereotypes of what we believe, and everyone assumes what we think, that we're judging people, that we feel a certain way. We touched on all this before, but that idea that we are, I don't know. They just have all these assumptions already for us, and so I think being able to transform friends into being like sharing at least like, well, this is what I'm doing or this is where I'm going, because often it does come up just within friendships, like, oh, I can't on Sunday because I have church or youth group on Wednesday or whatever it is. So then it's naturally like, well,
totally.
Like, what is that
again?
Like, where does that, instead of just vaguely like mentioning it here and there. And so I think that has kind of morphed into a thing where I am always going to be someone who's going to still invite them to things, even like not necessarily in a pushy way, but just be letting them be open that I like would love for them to come and everything. But also for certain friends coming to a point where it's like there's also only so much that we can do, and it's not our responsibility to feel like we need to bring them to church or whatever, but letting them know that invitation's always open, and then loving them no different and always being kind and respectful of that. And I think that can maintain a really great friendship. I have a really close friend who is a Christian, and she doesn't have anything against it. She loves that I love church and that I love to be here. It's just that's just not her story, and so. But I've always made the invitation open to her, wanting her to be around, but that's just not the situation. But that doesn't mean I love her any less than my friends that are Christians, that I also have a great relationship with.
I wonder if there's also a level of this question of the student who perhaps are asking, like, how do I, like, almost maintain a sense of myself with other Christians, too? And, like, I think we talked about this as well, but I think, I don't know, there's a good friendship is one who respects you and loves you no matter what. So, like, if they do that, then, like, the peer pressure influence, like, whatever that looks like, whatever direction that looks like that's just not cool. So, and that can come from Christian friends or non-Christian friends. Like if you're having a friend who's like, hey, let's go do this, like, if we're going to be like just a blanket high school stereotype, let's say like this person's like, oh, like I'm a Christian, so I know that I'm not supposed to like go to parties and rage, but like I'm getting invited to all the time. Like there's a difference between like going, like being like, oh yeah, I can go, and like when I have a sense of self, I know my boundaries, I know like, I know what I want to do and what I don't want to do, and then there's the kind of friends that are like, man, like if you don't do this, then you're a loser, and I don't know, like there seems like a cultural peer pressure there, and I think the heart behind that's just like, gosh, like do you have friends who respect you, and do you respect them, and like as people in general, and like are you comfortable enough in your own skin to make the choices that you want to make, and vice versa, like can you respect them too if you disagree with what they're doing, and like if you can, like then you're probably okay. But I think there's like it's like a question like, what do I want to be about? And again, like because we're talking about this in the framework of being Jesus people, it's like, am I asking the question like, gosh, well what would Jesus have me do in this situation? Like how do I model Christ-like behavior at a party? And how do I love people well? How do I make sure that I have my own sense of boundaries and my own sense of self, and not feel like I'm letting go of those things just to be accepted by this grouping of friends? Right. So I think respect is like just so big.
I think that's like the key to the whole question, honestly. And the fact like, am I changing myself for this person, and realizing, because, it's that, like, if we can both respect each other and we're aware that we make different life choices, different decisions, we believe different things, and that's okay. Like, as long as you're not letting that person, I think, affect or have you question your own choices and beliefs and stuff like that. I think.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, you know.
Totally. And there's also the other angle too. I think, like, I don't know. Sometimes there can be this perception as Christians that you're supposed to I'm supposed to like you talked about the invitational thing, I need to be like a good light to them. And I think that there's like a difference between like understanding what it means to be a light to somebody versus having this pressure that I'm supposed to change their life to join my youth group club. It's like, of course, it's like, well, okay, so at the baseline we believe it's like, following Jesus has changed my life, and has made me more loving, compassionate, graceful, forgiving person. But I also know God, and that's the core Christianity, right? And we believe that's a beautiful thing to work through. And so naturally we do want, of course, we invite people. We want people to know what we're experiencing, and if that's real, it's real for us. But there's a way to go about that that doesn't put the pressure to be it's my job. Right. Because I grew up in a space where, as a kid, I had this thought of oh my gosh, there are so many lost people. We use that language, right? People are so lost, which I think there's a lot of different ways that we can talk about that word, lost, that are healthy and some that are unhealthy. But I think to say, if the pressure is just on one person to make the difference in their life, oh gosh, that's a lot. And I don't think that gives credit to the Holy Spirit or what God is up to in general. And I think that there's just a better space for that. So I think that, in the same way, what does it mean to be respectful? Well, you get to be loving, you get to be kind, you still get to be open about who you are. That matters, and what God may be doing in your life without feeling like it's your job to convert them, because that's just where things just get really weird and kind of strange and less invitational and more, I don't know, religious culty vibes.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But we don't want to be about that, so yeah, that's another thing. So yeah, I think the respect piece is just huge. Respect, honor, being able to these are friends that, and I think there's an important thing just in general for friendship, are these people actually bringing out the best in you? Yeah. Do you look around at your friends and go, gosh, I'm a better person because of these people? Or I'm comfortable, I can really be, I'm free to be me, and it's not weird or criticized or whatever. And then you have to it leaves you to evaluate, well, what choices are you making, for your own self? It kind of puts it back into your court. So
totally. Yeah.
It's good.
The bottom line sounds so children's ministry. Bottom line, kids. But it's that, I think, it all comes down to that respect piece. You're respecting each other and are still able to be kind to each other and love each other in that way. And I think that's what makes a good friendship, no matter what you believe, whether you're a Christian or not. And so I think having those aspects, I don't know.
Yeah. There's also a thing I think about, this can be a very typical sort of phrasing thrown out, but I think there's some really good truth to it. So I think there's, in Proverbs, there's that iron sharpens iron kind of mentality, and that's used in a lot of talks about relationships, iron sharpening iron. So good friendships are ones that sharpen you, and it's not necessarily a pleasant thing, but there's some goodness coming out of that. And that's being married, that's the most, I think, blatant example of that reality, because you're to do a relationship with one person for the rest of your life, which we're going to talk about later on a little bit, but there's a profound sharpening thing. I think the best friends that I have in my life are people who naturally, we do that for each other. And I have friends who are believers, and at this point in time in my life, I'm 32, so my window of friends, people that I actively want to spend time with, those who I've kept in touch with since I graduated high school or through college, they tend to be people who also love Jesus, because that's what I want to be about. But I do have some very, very close friends who are not believers at all. But what is true with all of them, even in our disagreement, for me, it's oh my gosh, I actually I'm a more well-rounded thinker. I can see from better perspectives. So I think it's super important to have people in your life who don't think like you do, but also do respect you for where you're at. And so that's how I've viewed the iron sharpening iron piece.
Totally.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah.
You're good to go. That's the answer. Respect each other.
Which is kind of a theme throughout really the rest of this too.
Kindness and love. And speaking of love, gotta transition there. The other aspect of relationships, we have dating relationships.
Dating relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the other question was about how do you navigate dating relationships in high school as a Christian, which is a wonderful question.
Yep.
And we have a few kind of ideas, things we want to touch base upon. Things are obviously very different. When I was in high school, shout out to the years of 2005 to 2009.
Oh my God.
That feels so old, doesn't it?
Does, honestly. I didn't realize that until I'm like doing the math.
2005 is when I was a freshman in high school.
No, it's... No, wait.
2005 to 2009. Yeah. Freshman year of high school, 2005. Started 2005.
Actually, that does make sense. Because I was going to say, I was 2 in 2005.
Dude, there's the age difference right there.
But I was like, that's not 12 years. It is 12 years. I don't know.
Yes.
Sheesh.
I know.
Crazy.
So things were different then than they are now, but let's talk about some of the differences and similarities. So, Katie, you want to talk about like just your perspective on things and what's going on now, how people go about dating?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, I don't even know where to start, honestly. I think dating right now is very interesting, to say the least. I think there's a lot of, it's just kind of messy, I think, is a word that I would use for it, because it feels like what is happening isn't even what people want. And so it's kind of like become this chaotic, I don't know, I think we're losing the, I don't want to be trying to think of the right word. I don't know, we're losing the value in dating almost. And so now with, I mean, everything from like hookup culture to even about like how we're going to go about dating, like serious dating relationships, I feel like it's kind of gotten to be a little bit chaotic and messy. And so I think to start with, like, where do I talk about? I think for when it comes to the serious dating, because we are talking about a relationship kind of dating, there's obviously hookup culture, we acknowledge it. I feel like it doesn't really pertain to the question, honestly, because we're talking about relationship with people, and that just doesn't have that piece. So,
but people like think about but this is good though, because I think there's such, people actually think like, oh, romantic dating, hookup is a part of that, or at least as an option, and people think about that as like almost like a starting place, I think. Yeah. But
that's a good point. Almost like to start there.
So I think you can totally speak to that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, I feel like, I don't know, in that I wouldn't even know how to connect it, because I just don't see that personally. I'm like, we can just start with my story already, but just that I've never understood hookup culture, just was not going to be for me from the beginning. I was like, if I'm interested in a person, I'm going to want the root, that relationship and foundation and connection with someone. So I just was saying, I feel like I can't speak on that necessarily. And, but I mean, I think that's part of it too, where the concept is like almost, in some cases, like you start there to get the relationship, which I think is not how we can, or that's one way, but that's not the only way that we can do that.
Let me ask you this though. Okay, so you're like, okay, I can't, because I don't, like, that wasn't my thing either. Like, I didn't like navigate my teenage years like wanting to get with a bunch of people, which, oh, by the way, it's probably important for us to mention now. Like, so we're both straight people. And I'm, currently I'm a married man now of almost 8 years. So I'm not speaking from like my experience from like as a married man now to Shelly, and like who only had a handful of like serious like relationships, and that's all towards women. And for you, Katie, as a straight woman, it's like that's what we're speaking from that space. So students who are like who are identified as LGBTQ in this, we hope that you can still hear that we're trying to talk to just generic experience of dating and respecting people at large. So wherever sexuality a student may be listening to in this place, like we hope that you can still take this. We're going to speak from like our perspective. Right.
We only have our own experiences, but I think it should be able to apply to everyone in that way.
So that said though, with hookup culture, so you're like, no, for you, you're like, I haven't, that was not my thing. I wasn't going to be about that. But like, why?
Oh, sure.
So like, because like for you, I think that's the thing, is it's like, okay, so if that's a perspective, why is it a perspective from from you being just recently graduating in high school, why is that something that seems to be such an attractive way of going about things? And then why for you were you like, no? And that actually sounds miserable. I don't want to be about that, and here's why.
Okay, well, start. You first said, why does that seem like so attractive to people?
Yeah.
And I think honestly, just because our generation is like strayed so much from just like connecting with people. Like I feel like it is so hard for people to talk to each other these days, and like most honestly, like I think you were there for this, so you can even attest. I feel like at least the first freshman year, sophomore year, maybe even a little bit of junior year of high school, like even at youth group, like the girls and the boys just did not want to talk to each other. Like we wanted to, but like we didn't even know how to like go about that. Where I feel like that's so different from like I think from when you were in high school too. So I think we've lost that like just being able to talk to each other component, and so I think it's almost easier to be like, hey, like, you know, like,
wow.
So I like you like me, like, let's just hook up, and then we don't have to talk to each other in that, and then, I don't know, and so for me, I think, I don't know if you want to touch on that before I get to that.
No, that's really good. I mean, yeah, it's true, like, for me, it was just like high school, I mean, hooking up has always existed, it always will, like, that initial, like, instant, like, oh, like, you're attractive, like, I want to be with you, or whatever, like, that is always said. But the way, like, the relational capacity, when I was in high school, most of the time at least, I think there's usually more of like, like, we've been like, I know this person, I've had a real conversation with them. Like, it was just really much more common.
Everyone interacted in
I had some of my best friends growing up in high school were girls. And I definitely see a lot less of that as a youth pastor now. Like, see a lot less of that happening. Like guys and girls just being really good friends without feeling like they have to be together, or that's like that's the natural thing. I've just totally noticed that's been a challenge for sure.
And I don't want to I want to say like this is obviously again my experience. I feel like everyone obviously there's some like that's not like guys and girls aren't friends right now. I have guy friends too. Like it's just what I've experienced, and I think what I've like noticed too, and I don't know if that's actually the reason, like that it's because we don't want to talk to each other. I just think that's what I've kind of inferred, just watching and experiencing high school and stuff like that. So anyways, but with that, like for me, why I was like not going to be about that from the beginning, I think such a core piece of that is of anyone that like, I don't know, I just was like never going to be, I always like, I don't know. The relationship is so much more important or just more special if you even know the person. I was just never going to be that person that was going to be like, oh, I like you, great. Like, you like me, let's just hook up and then be done with it. And like, I'm like, oh, you missed so much of the good part. Like, being able to like talk to each other and have a connection in any way. Like, that was just never going to be my thing, kind of.
Totally. So. That's awesome. The value of friend, like you actually value like if I'm going to be with somebody romantically, I want to be good friends with them. Yeah. Like that's important to me. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, so that's that for me.
Yeah.
And then I think just the only other aspect of talking about like what dating's like now too, I just have found that like it's almost like I don't know, even starting in like middle school when like. I mean, obviously, no middle school dating is ever smooth or like anything like. It's gonna be messy and chaotic. That's normal. That should be because it's just awkward and you're in middle school. But I think something along the line where like there's a point in time where it was like, oh, like you like someone, I'm gonna ask them out on a date and we're gonna like. Go on a date and get to know each other, and then it's like maybe, and then you go on a couple more dates,
meet
and
at
then
the
maybe
mall,
you start dating.
Your parents drop you off, you hold hands, your hands are all
like,
sweaty and clammy.
I feel like that got missed so much in my generation, at least, that it became like, oh, like I like you, you like me, or like even, or it's like my friend told me that you like me, or something like that, because nobody wanted to talk to each other again. And then it was like, okay, now we're boyfriend, girlfriend. Like, we're dating. But it was like, what did that even mean? In middle school, of course. But then even through high school, it kind of felt like it was that way. There was not a lot of like, let's just go out on a date one time. Like, let's get to know each other. See if there's any connection there that we want to build off of or go off from. So, I don't know. I think in that way, and even like, I think it also when it comes to the Snapchat of it all, I should say, because everyone already knows what I mean. Like it's like, oh, I like this guy, whatever. I gotta get his snap. Like we're gonna talk back and forth. Like, but it's like, are you talking back and forth? Are you like I always say, sending the half photo of your face saying like, hey, or like, WYD, what are you doing? Like, what is this conversation we're having? Like, it's like almost like sending signals. It's like, by the way, I like you because I'm saying like, what are you doing? And trying to be like, whatever. It's like, what are we doing? Like, this is like, why can't we just talk to each other and be like normal people? I don't know. There's so much that I was just like, I'm not going to partake in this. This is like ridiculous. Like, where have we come from? Like,
So
what happened?
funny.
And I'm like a hopeless romantic at heart. I'm like, I'm like, we're missing all the like the core of like what would be so great. I don't know what's so great about. I mean, people are designed to be in relationships with each other. Like, we are people that want to like have connections with people and talk to people. So like, why are we just skipping all of the good part and just being weird and like not communicating?
Snapchat
it's so odd to me. And so I was like, and so I can get into like, for me, like I never had a boyfriend in high school. Never really dated because again, there was no dating. And so I was like, so I was like, I'm not really going to be about the hookup culture, and there was never, for me, so I was never into the Snapchat thing. I'm like, I'm not going to be about it. Like, it's just ridiculous to me. And like, if I like a guy, I'm going to talk to him. We're going to get to know each other and whatever. And so, and there's plenty of guys that I did talk to and whatever, and it just didn't really work out in that way, whether it was like, oh, we don't actually really have that much in common, whatever it is. But
because you actually found out that you didn't.
Right, before I just like, and now we're dating. So I didn't have a boyfriend because there was never any relationship that I wanted to, because there was never a specific guy that I was like, I want to date him. And that's what I wanted to talk about. I'm like, am I ready to get into it? Because I feel like I can speak really only for girls in this way, but, I don't know, in that perspective, but I feel like as like a teenage girl, there's so much like pressure to like, not pressure, but it's almost pressure we put on ourselves or society does, that it's just like, it's like you're a teenage girl, well, there's normal, like you just want a boyfriend, like everything on a girl. It's like you want to date someone. That's just normal teenage feelings. You want to date somebody, or
you want to be wanted.
You're attracted to people. Like you want to be wanted. All those things. That's completely normal. But then there's that like aspect. It's like, oh, I'm a teenage girl now. Like I probably should. Like this is like the time when I would like get a boyfriend, or like I would start dating somebody. And so there ends up being like this pressure of like, oh my gosh, like. And sometimes it's subconscious, sometimes it's conscious, but like, oh, I gotta like find a boyfriend, gotta date somebody, and whether that's like. And so there's a lot of times it's like easy to end up dating people because, you know, a guy likes you and you just like the attention. You're like, oh my gosh, that guy likes me. This is the moment. Like I'm going to get my boyfriend or whatever. Or you just want to have it to be, say, I've had a boyfriend, I've dated somebody, I've whatever. Or what else do I have? And it's sometimes it's guys that you don't even actually necessarily like, or people that you've never even necessarily had a connection with at all. And like, this one's a little bit harsh, but it's true. Maybe just not so that you're not alone, because you just want a boyfriend so bad. And sometimes it's like, do you like that guy for him, or do you just want to, like, you just like the idea of having a boyfriend? Like, and you like the attention of that. And I think I mean, like, it's hard. Like, I'm not going to be like, it's the easiest thing in the world, because it's easy to, sometimes you're not even aware. You like think, like, I like him, but then it's like, in later reflection, you're like, did I really like him? And I've had friends that I've sat with in them like realizing like, oh, I don't even think I like actually like we don't have anything in common. I just kind of am like dating because that's what I feel like I was supposed to do. Like he said I like you, so I'm like, okay, I guess we're gonna date now. Like those kind of things where I was like, whoa. And so for me, I was just like, I don't know. I just was never in a situation where I was like, oh, I think I actually like this guy for him, as opposed to like, do I want a boyfriend? Of course I want a boyfriend, but do I actually like this person for them? And I feel like that's where we miss a lot. But I wanted to I want to talk about all this because I'm like, teenage girls everywhere out there, you do not need, I think we have to all shape our thinking and being like, do we really like this person, or do we just really want the idea, want to be in a relationship, and that way don't want to be alone, whatever it is. Because I think it's important that, like, especially with like the not wanting to be alone thing, like, it is totally normal and okay to like not be dating someone in high school. Like you do not need to be dating someone all the time, feel that pressure. Sure. Like obviously if you like someone for them, date them. Love it. We love love. Like I think it's amazing. But I'm speaking specifically on the like the feeling or like the societal, expectations or whatever. It's just thinking through like before you date someone, being like, what is the reason behind this? And I think acknowledging that. And so
I actually had an experience, I want to say, like, I mean, for me, you talk about that, like, in my own way, when I was a teenager, like I got wrapped up into that too. Like there's such a like okay, so for me in high school, I never had like an actual real girlfriend in high school. I had like, I'd be like, oh, this girl's super cute, and like I would still like go on a date or whatever, and like we'd be together for like this is my girlfriend for 4 days or something.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
there were some people I would go after because I was like, oh my gosh, I think this person's super attractive. I know that internally I'll not be like, oh, Ben's with that person, what? Like, and like my friends would say like, and I reflect on that, like that was still a big deal for me too. Like it felt really good and normal to be like, oh, like this girl likes me, so now I'm just gonna be with her just because. And I remember in one situation in particular, I was a senior in high school, and I took this girl to homecoming, and like we had a fine time, but then nothing came of it. But then like a few months later, her best friend was like, hey, by the way, she likes you now. And I'm not going to mention her name just for the sake of, this podcast, or like the fact that there's a potential someone could be listening or whatever. But like it'd be hilarious. But like, but I like went immediately. I was like, sweet. And then like we were together for like 4 or 5 days. And by the end of it all, like it was a very like quick breakup, like because I was like, we have like as a person, there's nothing that we actually like. This isn't gonna work, and like that was evident just on what we want to do. Like, oh, school's over. What do you want to do and hang out? I don't want to do that. Like that's not quite the thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was easy. I just want to say like that's not just a teenage girl thing. I think guys experience that too. It's just not talked about as much.
I feel like I can only speak for that.
Totally. Well, you can.
I would assume it would go both ways.
Yeah.
Like I feel like just because I don't know that.
There's a desire to want to be desired, and that's for everybody. But I think in high school, it's just easier to be like, oh, I can go about it this way. And I love what you're touching base on. It's just like, well, actually, what if you like actually wanted to get to know people, like know them as friends first? And okay, sweet, you're attracted to them, great. But like, you actually take the time. That's just a mature way to look at relationships in general. And if you do that, you're gonna set yourself up to be, I think, less hurt in the long run, in the short run too. And that lives into that respect piece really well. So. Yeah.
I just am like, let's bring back the date. The concept of going on a date.
The classic date.
It feels
we didn't have
so
Snapchat.
lost.
We did not have that. I still don't get that. Like I hear students talk about like, oh my gosh, I got his Snap, and I'm like, okay.
Like, it's not even against the app. Like, sure, if that's the way that's easier to communicate, like, I love it. But I feel like there were so many instances where it's like, again, I won't name names, but I had a friend who, like this, basically like, it was basically only over Snapchat were they even dating. Because in person, when we'd see each other at youth group, like, they would not talk to each other. Like, she'd be like, is he gonna talk to me? Like, why is that what we're basing off of? Like, oh my gosh, maybe he'll talk to me today. I'm like, but you're already boyfriend and girlfriend. That makes no sense. Like, obviously this is freshman year. Like, we knew nothing. Like, it's totally, that's normal. But like, at the same time, it's like, when you just think about it big picture, like, what is going on? Like, it's normal if it's like, oh, I have a crush, and we're like, are we gonna talk to each other? Like, that makes sense. That's like what would happen. But the fact that they were already boyfriend and girlfriend.
Over Snapchat.
Technically, because over Snapchat, they're like, I love you so much. Like, you're the best. Like, we just, like, they're already at that place over Snapchat, but in person, they can't even speak to each other.
Oh my gosh, that's
like,
so fascinating.
You know what I mean? So, like, it's just like, what's happening here? And so I think...
Yeah, I did not realize that. That's really funny.
And there's versions of that throughout, just things where it's like, things that I was a part of and things that my friends and whatever. And it was like, just the, like, when you're in person, or like, even, it's like, I like this person, but instead of like, maybe like, I'm gonna go talk to them more when I see them, or like go and hang out with them, or if it's like at school, being like, talk to them in class, or talk to them in whatever, like, I don't know, extracurricular you're a part of or whatever. But it's like, I like this person that's in my class, whatever, so I'm gonna DM them, or I'm gonna like get their Snapchat, whatever, and start being like, hey, how's it going, or like whatever. And
sliding into the DMs.
There's part of it that's like, I don't like them. Obviously there's part of it where it's like, oh, you like someone, like, talk to them in class, maybe also get their number so you can start text. Like, that makes sense. I think it's just the point when it's like, you're only communicating through your phone because it's like this, that's all how our generation knows.
That's
it's like
really good.
We can't communicate in that way. So like there's not. That's all to say. Like we're not like I'm not like you can't communicate over text or Snapchat or anything with people because that's obviously not true. But it's just when you look at the big picture of the relationship, it's like, are you only communicating for that? And what's the substance of your conversations? Again, because what gets me with the Snapchat is it's always like, hey, like, how are you? Good, cool, fine. Like one word things. Yeah, and I'm like, what's happening here? Like this is not a conversation. This is like, I don't know. It's just so odd to me.
That's so fascinating. I wonder, like, I mean, just the progression I think about when I was, when I was in middle school and high school. So like the thing for me that started off middle school, like the big thing was AOL Instant Messenger, AIM. Shout out to AIM. Like, and you had your screen name, like, let's see, what was it? bballplayer12291 at yahoo.com.
B-ball player!
But like, it was like, we had this little community and everyone would go home from school and like, you'd be on your keyboard and you'd just be going and typing away on AIM. And I remember like I for sure remember like my parents were like, what? Like, it's just like every generation has a thing that like the next generation, every generation has a thing that the previous generation is like, what are you doing? And so I think it's understanding like, what is this like actually good for and what is this hindering? And I think that you touched base on some really good like hindrances, I suppose, right now with the way technology is being used to cultivate relationships. It feels like, well, Snapchat can only go really so far. And to get to know somebody, it's probably more important to like actually be able to say hi to them in real life.
Yes. Like I feel like there's the talking stage that people always talk about when you're like you're not dating yet, but you're like both where you're interested in each other. It's like that, whatever. But I think it's funny. It's called the talking stage, and half the time you're not even speaking in person. It's because you're talking like over like Snapchat or something like that, and then you're in that. And so I'm always like, okay. But are you all? And I think it's just about like where the core of that relationship is. Like, are you talking in person? Then of course, like you go home, you Snapchat each other because it's like you always want to be talking to each other because you're so.
Yeah.
That makes
and that way it's like it's more texting, It's like
or whatever it is. That's just like keeping in touch But when you're seeing each other, you are having that. I think it's just when it's without that, it's kind of like, I don't know.
Well, this just reminded me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and also because another aspect that I've seen about it is it's like when you are. It's not that you're not like. Sometimes it's not that you're not physically speaking to each other. It's just that like, oh, we're all friends, we're all hanging out, but we're not like talking to each other one-on-one or anything that like shows that we like each other when we're in a group or in person or with friends or whatever. And then it's like, but our Snapchat, it's like we're flirting while we're at. So I'm like, why is that not in person happening? I don't know. Yeah. To me, it just seems weird.
I just want to speak to that. So I just wonder if like there's a piece that like I think there's such a fear of feeling awkward right now.
Yes.
Like people are really like student. I kind of sense that ability. I get that sense that like many students, like the idea of feeling awkward. Like most students feel awkward all the time, but they're like trying to minimize that as possible.
As much as possible.
And I think for me, like I remember feeling like, well, okay. So it's awkward, but like there's a part of things that you just like to embrace being awkward. Like, okay, so it's more awkward to be like, hey, like I want to actually like get to know you. Can we go hang out? Like go to, I don't know, we're around here. Let's go to Panera. Let's go to like, Panera. I don't know what else to go. The Northgate Mall is terrible. So what's a good first date spot in Marin County?
I don't know.
Like In-N-Out? I don't know. Tear up some Neapolitan milkshakes. I'm not sure, but like even just that step, like still is like to embrace like to actually get to know somebody and to like really get to know them means that you have to say, like, tell me about like your family. What do you like to do for fun? Like, what is school like? And then as you get to go like furthermore, like what stresses you out? Like, what are you afraid of? Like. And when you actually answer those questions for real, like that is going to feel very awkward if you've done them before. And so I think, as a step for this, it's like, well, you got to embrace being awkward because real life is going to feel that way. But that's how you do it. That's way better. And then, like, ironically, what ends up happening is that everything else that's already happening, the Snapchat sends. Like those shots that you talk about, which I've seen that happen. I'm like, what is happening right now? That actually, from outside perspective, is way more awkward.
Yes, like, I know.
It's so much more awkward.
This is where I'm like, I don't understand my own generation sometimes because I'm just like, I don't know. That's so like pick me of me to be like, I know I'm not like my generation, but I don't know. There's just always something, and so I think with that, it's like for me, I was like, yeah, no, like I'm not gonna do that, and like it was hard sometimes because like I was like went through all of high school, I didn't have a boyfriend. That was like rare for like, and it's kind of like you're gonna have that feeling of like, oh my gosh, like I don't know, there's all the different insecurities that can pop up with that, being like, oh my gosh, no one likes me, or I'm just the odd one out, or like what am I doing, what's wrong with me. I don't know, there's always ways that you can blame yourself in that, but I think just my little like motivation or like advice for I don't know, any teenagers in this day of like, if you're like, no, I don't want to be about there, or like I don't want to do it like this, then don't do it like this. Like don't feel like you have to because it's weird to not, or like that's because and I know, and it's hard because it's a sacrifice, because obviously like we all want to be loved, like we want to be in relationships, whatever. Like again, I'm such a hopeless romantic. I would love a boyfriend, like that'd be so great, that with someone that I was actually connected to, but I was like, but I'm not gonna I have to change my words about things. I'm about to say something I couldn't say on here, but I was like, I'm not gonna like do it halfway because like, or do it the way that I don't want because that's just how it is, or like that's what things are. It's like, no, you don't have to be about that. And so I was like, I'm gonna wait until I can meet someone that like wants to have an actual connection, have a real relationship. We're not like, I've told him this before. I was like, I've literally like before been like with a guy like being like, oh, can I get your Snapchat? I'm like, no, but you can have my phone number. Like,
boom,
like
preach.
And if that's weird or if that's like aggressive or whatever, I'm like, if they want to take it like that, fine. Then fine. I'm not gonna do the whole, hey, what are you doing?
That's not the person I want to be
with
anyways.
Yeah, I'm like, that's fine. And so exactly. So I'm like, they should be able to some person that I would want to be with would be able to have a connection, like have a real speaking relationship, and like and I know that that's like possible. That's the thing. I think when you're a teenager too, it's so hard to be like, because it's so like high school is everything when you're in that whole concept, and being like, I think it's hard to be like, is that person even gonna exist then? Is this just how my generation is? Am I gonna be like alone forever if I stick to that? But I think it feels like that sometimes, but it's not. Like there are people out there that will go on a real date with you, that will like have that connection with you. And it's just, I think that's just where you take it to Jesus and be like, patience, please. Yeah. And so that's something. I'm like over here, like it's hard for me every day still. So I get it. Like it's all about that patience and being. But I think just not giving up what you, like if you're like, I'm not about this, then hold that and not let it be just like, well, I guess this is how things are in my generation. Here we go. I'm just gonna take part in it. Yeah. So I think having to own that for yourself.
I just think that you have it's in like that piece of respect, like you. And Katie, like you have such a good sense of yourself, like you have such a good sense of your respect for who you are, and someday that's gonna pay off really well. Like someday you're gonna meet a dude, like a really great guy.
A dude.
You're gonna meet a dude. You're gonna meet a bro. No, you're gonna meet a really great guy who's gonna like. That person's gonna be super lucky because you have made like this is what I want to be about, and then when they'll be about those similar things because that's what you haven't settled or fallen short, which is rad. So. Yeah, and that's awesome.
So I think that'd be just like what I would tell any of this with, what was the question even? Navigating relationships, just knowing like what you want, I think, and just being aware of that and not like just settling for how the times are or how dating is now, and like not letting go of what you are like believe in, what you're going to be about in your whatever you want to say, morals, beliefs. I don't know how you want to phrase that, but just not like. And it's the whole, everyone's like, never settle for less, don't settle for a man, whatever, all those things. But it's like, they're real, they're true. And being like, just aware of that. And I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what's the
No, it's good. I think like if we could for me, I'm hearing like, we actually want to encourage like from a full on like Jesus perspective, like hookup culture is not going to fulfill you. And it's like, it will most likely leave you wounded. Or if you participate in it and you're like, no, I'm good to go, like you're probably leaving like some like wounded fires behind you. Like it's just is set up to like not flourish, like your soul. And so I don't think it's a bad thing to like want to date people and be around and like, date around like with intentionality, that's not a bad thing. But that just is way different now. So I think, don't settle. Be okay with who you are.
I'm always just like, don't date to date because you want to date that person. As opposed to just the concept. I think that's what's important. And so
that's good.
What do
we want to let's wrap this guy up here, and let's think about like what we want to say. Like, what do you want to say to like for you, Katie, what do you want to say to like guys? Like, what do you want guys to know about dating? Again, this is from our perspective as both being straight. So like like I can speak to girls, but what is like if you could speak to like high school guys, knowing that what is healthy for them to consider when it comes to dating? What do you want them to know about girls in general and things to consider, that sort of thing?
There's so many ways you can go about that. That's broad. No, but I think I would say, honestly, just, I mean, I feel like that's what I've been saying, but just really like being intentional about like, if there's a girl that you like, get to know them. I don't know, I think that's so like basic, but really just being like physically talking in person, like using, like speaking, use your words. But instead of this like, the back and forth, like, hey, like, what's going on, like, whatever. I think sometimes there's that, like, I gotta be cool kind of aspect with it, and, like, I mean, obviously, like, don't go crazy or anything, but, like, like, being able to, I think it's just as cool to actually ask intelligent questions and, like, want to, it shows that you, like, oh my gosh, you're actually interested in who I am, as opposed to just, like, I'm a girl. Like, I'm out here, like, I'm just doing my thing, and you just think I'm cute or whatever. Like, I think it shows that, like, if you're interested in dating this person, like, showing that you're interested in like who that they are as a person. And so I think getting beyond the again, like DM or Snapchat or whatever, like that can be used in a great way to, you know, communicate and whatever, but also just I think being intentional about, you know, being a person. And bonus points, ask her on an actual date. I think that would be I think that would just honestly, because I think especially for a teenager girl in high school, it would be like almost shocking. I don't know. I would have to ask. I feel like I've been out of high school for 2 whole years now, so that's so dumb. But no, honestly, like I'd have to ask like a 16-year-old girl. Like I feel like, but I think to me, when I was like in the middle of high school, that would have like been shocking to be like being like, oh, can we go on like a date? Like let's go out to dinner or like whatever it is. I don't know. But I think that would be like just the shock factor alone, and showing them that like, oh, you like actually want to get to know me as a person. I think that would just show so much like care, and I think it just shows it shows that you respect them. It shows that you're being kind to them, and like, like I think that I don't know. I think it's just all that respect piece as opposed to like. So good. Because I feel like hey, like the what are you doing, whatever, all the Snapchat stuff, I feel like that more than anything, it shows, oh, you're just like another girl, another one. We're moving on. We're doing the motions of how we're supposed to do this, like whatever it is. Wow. But I think being different in that way and being like, I don't know. That's what I would say. But everyone's different. I don't know. That would be my advice, I think. Yeah. Yeah. And if I'm speaking to like, what do I hope as like as a man, like what do I want? Like as a youth pastor who like who gets to witness and watch teenagers figure things out, like speaking directly to girls, like any girl who's listening to this right now, like any teenage girl who's listening to this, like I would hope that you hear what Katie is saying about like not just dating to date, to feel that like, oh, it's cool to be wanted and desired, but like that you would know like, gosh, you are a beautiful woman created in the image of God and worthy of honor and dignity and respect. And you already have that. That's inherent. You don't have to earn that. You don't have to like find that from anybody. And if I just compel you not to try to find that in any dating relationship, but to find that in yourself, to know that God it's just default. It's given to you. You have that. You are beautiful just as you are, like, and God has crafted you purposefully and intentionally, and like He's crafted like your appearance, He's crafted your body type, He's crafted like how you think and what you care for and what you see and all that. Like I think there's like, I've been kind of struck, the last couple of years to seeing many students wrestling with eating disorders and body image stuff, and that can happen with guys too, but I think I've heard several of our leaders will come to me saying, gosh, the student's wrestling with, body image stuff. And it breaks my heart because just like, gosh, well, one, like our culture, I just think like, speaking of like just the infiltration of how Snapchat has done things, but like the ways that a particular body type has been, I think, fully idolized for women, for young girls. It's like you have to be like
skinny. You have to have like this like perfect hair, perfect eyes, perfect body, perfect curves, and like then they destroy themselves. And it's just, I think that is one of the biggest footholds that like I think the enemy uses now, is to make young people, but in particular young girls, feel like my body is not good enough and I'm not loved unless I do X, Y, and Z. And my hope is, gosh, you just shake that, and like you'd hear like no makeup on, like just as you are, like God created you beautifully, wonderfully, and that is what you deserve, to be treated like that no matter what. And so hold yourself that way, carry yourself with that, and then don't settle for guys to treat you anything less than that. And so that's my hope for girls in general. And I think if I'm speaking to guys, like I can agree with you, like be intentional, like drop the locker room vibe talk, and like it's just so easy to like, because it's just easy to do that. I remember that in high school myself, and I think there's a part of that developmentally that comes with just being, again, like a straight high school guy. That's a part of the territory. You have to figure and navigate that. But there's also a way to recognize, like, gosh, is this actually best? Like, is it better? Is it good for me to be thinking about girls like this behind their backs? How I talk to them in person, especially, it all influences that. So there's just honor the image of God in people. And that you can't go wrong if you do that. You'll thrive. And one more piece with dating too, just because I want to say this. If you find yourself dating too, this is so important. Like I just like this might seem like a little bit of an offshoot, but the 60-40 rule. This is something I learned in high school. This is just so important because as much as important it is to like, okay, you're talking about dating and friendships. In high school, I think it's super important to actually balance the time spent with both well. And I've seen some people, like most people, like when they date somebody, they still like, that's all their free time, they ditch their friends. So the 60-40 rule is this. When you are dating somebody, you should spend in high school, especially earlier stages, and this ratio changes, but you should spend no more than 60% of your free time with your significant other, and 40% with your close friends. And actually, I think it was actually taught to me reverse that. Like a healthy high school relationship is 60% with friends, 40% with your significant other, because that way you're not ditching your friends. And the reality is, like, there's a good chance you'll probably break up with the person in high school. Like, there's a good chance. So if you spend 60% of your time with your friends, you're not leaving them to the side. But 40% still allows you to cultivate those better habits. So I just want to encourage that practice, because I've seen several students. Now, this happened like when I was in high school too, but like you date somebody, you get so head over heels, it's going really well. I found the person. You break up, and then you have no friends because you ditched your friends. So don't ditch your friends.
I've seen it before too.
Don't ditch your friends in relationships.
Good last piece of advice.
Good stuff.
Dude, we went long.
That was good.
Okay. It
That's
needed to be said. It needed to be shared.
It was good stuff.
But, okay, so those are our questions for today. I think that was a perfect way to wrap it up.
That's good.
It is that time. It's our classic closing segment.
Yes.
POV, thoughts from my quiet time.
Katie, what has the Lord been teaching you in your quiet time? Tell us about it.
Thanks. Well, so last time I talked, let me grab my book here. Last time I did the segment, I talked about one of the Devo books that I was working on, which is for the Enneagram. This time I just switched up. I was like, what other Devo book can we talk about? Because that's just what I like to do. So it's fun. But this one is Every Moment Holy. You can get it on Amazon. A little plug there. Not sponsored, but
plug in Amazon.
but we'd love to be sponsored. Oh my gosh, I'm just kidding. Anyways, but yeah, Every Moment Holy, which is basically this Devo book that literally is like the title. It has a prayer for basically every moment in your life.
It's really good.
Not really,
we
but
have a copy of it too.
There's
it's
some
super good.
Obscure moments in here. Like an example, for arriving at the ocean, for feasting with friends, for a sick day, for washing the windows, for changing diapers. Like there's literally random things in here. And there's a prayer that you can pray for those specific moments that are in your life, with the concept being that like every moment in our lives can be holy and can be pointed towards God. And so even the mundane things that we think, like changing diapers, which doesn't really apply to anyone listening right now probably, but you never know. But there's some moments that do. And so for me, my favorite, and it's one that I basically read every day now because I just think the structure of it is so amazing, and I like to start my mornings off with it, is the title is A Liturgy for the Ritual of Morning Coffee. So, if you're like me, you have your, actually, Ben doesn't do this.
I naturally caffeinated.
Can't do coffee, but I am a big currently have coffee in my cup right here. Like, you rarely see me without coffee unless it's like after 3 p.m., which it's almost 3 p.m., so this is embarrassing. Yeah. Anyways, point is though, I gravitated to that one in this book when I first got it naturally, but I actually do read this with my coffee every morning because I just love this one and the structure of it. So I'm gonna I'll read it really quick and then I'm gonna talk about the point that has been standing out to me like this week, I would say. So yeah, a liturgy for the ritual of morning coffee. Meet me, O Christ, in the stillness of morning. Move me, O Christ, to quiet my heart. Mend me, O Father, from yesterday's harms. From the discords of yesterday, resurrect my peace. From the discouragements of yesterday, resurrect my hope. From the weariness of yesterday, resurrect my strength. From the doubts of yesterday, resurrect my faith. And from the wounds of yesterday, resurrect my love. Let me enter this new day, aware of my need and awake to your grace, O Lord. Amen. So it's literally one page, super quick, but the part that I love the structure of that. From yesterday, resurrect this, or resurrect what other peace, hope, strength, faith, love, all the things. And I think it's cool to like reflect on yesterday, and it's like a way to start the new day, being like, all right, how are we gonna switch our mindset this day and not let anything from the past get us down in the new day. And then the part I've really been liking is this: let me enter this new day, aware of my need and awake to your grace, O Lord. And like every day, I feel like because it's at the end of the prayer too, I've been like sitting on that a lot, and I just love that. Going into every day being so like, good. There is something, I can be aware of my need, something that I can do to make today like impactful for myself, for somebody else, any way that it's not just a waste of a day. I feel like there's a lot of times when we get into like routines and rhythms of life and being like, it's just another Monday or whatever. Everyone like feels the need to like neglect the day, but it's like in reality, every day is meaningful in our lives and like we can make it. So
it's good.
And then the other part, and awake to your grace, O Lord. And so
yes,
being able to see like the joy and all the moments and all other things that are in there, peace, hope, strength, faith, love, all this stuff, aware of that, and then aware of like your need and how you can help and serve, love, I don't know, all the things for the day. And so I think that's just been a cool piece to sit on of thinking about that.
So good.
And I don't know, it's really nice to just read that in the morning and being able to like shape your mindset of the day, especially when it's like when it's like those mornings that you don't want to get up. You're like, I just want it to be like bedtime again. Like I want to sleep. I don't like want to do today. I think that's been really helpful to like look at that and being like, just because like looking at it, my day on paper, or like what the schedule is or whatever I'm doing today, like seems like it's not going to be great. Like I know like in some way like God is going to use this day and it's going to be influential to somebody, whether it's me or not, and how I can be a part of that I think is cool.
So good. I love it.
So yeah, so that's the POV thoughts from my quiet time recently.
Love it.
But yeah, so that is our episode.
That's it.
Yeah, I think this was a good one. We were able to, we always talk a lot, but that's okay.
We have lots to say.
Guys, so great.
Yep.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
That's right. This will probably come out around that time, so
probably.
there you go.
I'll put this out on Valentine's Day.
Perfect.
I'll make that really
Happy Valentine's Day.
Watch me not be able to get it up in time. That'd be awkward. But yeah, happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
And thanks for watching.
And
Listening.
so great.
I'll let you do this part.
Yes. Well, thank you all so much this is like my talk show host voice. Thank you all so much for listening to This Is Our House podcast. Once again, I am Katie Hill.
And I'm Ben Zulsdorf.
Wow, that was so amazing. All right, we love you all so much. And always remember, #This is our house. Wow.